Every quarter, glossy sustainability reports pour out of the world's biggest companies. Charts, targets, green leaves on slide decks, and always an ESG score. Investors trust them, CEOs chase them, politicians cite them. But here's the paradox. We treat ESG scores like thermometers that tell us the temperature of corporate virtue, when in reality they're closer to weather forecasts, written with a ruler made of rubber. If everyone's measuring, why does no one agree on what exactly is being measured? This is the markets and machines historian, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. ESG, environmental, social, and governance, was sold as a way to align capitalism with conscience. A neat number that could capture whether a company is good for the planet, good for people, and run as if an adult were in the room. But follow the chain of definitions long enough and you discover something unsettling. ESG doesn't measure goodness, it measures paperwork. And paperwork is an excellent proxy for only one thing: how good you are at doing paperwork. The story begins long before today's dashboards. Ethical investing has existed for centuries. Quakers avoided enterprises tied to the slave trade. Temperance funds screened out alcohol and gambling. That was values-based exclusion. Don't fund what violates our ethics. Simple, explicit. Imperfect, but honest about its motive. Then came the pivot. By the 2000s, the largest institutions didn't want exclusion. They wanted quantification. Don't say no, calculate. Build a framework, assign weights, standardize across industries, translate conscience into factors and factors into risk. It sounded scientific. It sounded modern. It sounded like something a trillion-dollar pension fund could explain to its board without anyone spilling coffee. But that pivot from values to value at risk is the first sleight of hand. ESG was never designed to certify who's good. It was designed to estimate who might blow up less. Pollution fines, labor strikes, political backlash, corruption scandals, things that hurt cash flows. The question changed from should we fund them to can they keep paying us? Those aren't the same question, and the distance between them is where the confusion lives. Break open the acronym, and you find 3 open containers: environment, social, governance. 3 buckets wide enough to pour the world into, and yet specific enough to give the illusion of precision. Environment is the obvious one. Emissions, water use, waste, biodiversity, energy intensity, and the favorite modern riddle, Scope 3, everything your customers and suppliers emit because of you. Is that your responsibility or everyone's responsibility? The answer, conveniently, is yes. Social sprawls across worker safety, wages, benefits, union relations, product safety, data privacy, community impact. Is a higher factory wage more social if the plant relocates and eliminates jobs? Do you prioritize the local community or global consumer prices? Pick a philosophy, get a score. Governance is the least romantic and often the most predictive. Board independence, shareholder rights, executive pay, audit quality, anti-bribery controls. It's the plumbing of power. Where the pipes leak, everything else floods. Here's the structural problem. These are incommensurable goods. How many injury-free shifts equal 1 ton of CO2? How many tons of CO2 equal a robust data privacy policy? Converting moral trade-offs into a single number is like grading a symphony with a bathroom scale. You'll get exactly one thing, a number. It just won't mean what you think. Inside the scoring machine, thousands of data points are ingested. Some come from company reports, others are scraped, modeled, or guessed. Then everything is weighted, because not every factor matters equally in every industry. Water risk matters more for semiconductor fabs than for software. Worker safety matters everywhere, but especially in heavy industry. Governance is the universal solvent. So far, sensible. But then comes the proxy problem. Don't have direct data? Use filings as stand-ins. No verified supply chain emissions? Use industry averages? No incident reports? Assume no news is good news. The company with the longest sustainability report and the suite of new policies often looks for better, even if nothing in the physical world has changed. This is not a conspiracy. This is a data architecture. The map becomes the territory because the map is what's legible. The company that documents, discloses, and narrates earns points. The company that invests, sweats, and fixes without storytelling earns less. When legibility is the currency, storytellers become rich. Now compare the raters. Ask 3 major agencies to score the same company and you can get 3 different answers. Not mildly different, philosophically different. One penalizes absolute emissions, another rewards emissions intensity improvements, a third elevates disclosure quality over outcomes. The result is a correlation problem. Credit ratings mostly ask one question: will you pay us back? ESG asks a dozen: what matters, how much, to whom, and when? Different answers yield different scores. The illusion of precision hides genuine disagreement. Follow the incentives and you find the engine. ESG created an ecosystem. Consultants write policies. Auditors verify metrics. Software platforms track disclosures. Ratings firms sell the scores, index providers package them into investable products, and charge a higher fee because it's curated. Us. Asset managers gather assets, collect basis points, and issue press releases. Everyone gets paid. Corporations understand the game. If a better score lowers the cost of capital, the rational move is to optimize the metric, not the reality. Install internal carbon pricing on paper. Adopt a supplier code of conduct on paper. Publish a human rights statement on paper. Paper doesn't fight back. Paper earns points. This isn't villainy, it's incentives. You get what you measure, especially when money depends on it. And if the measurement favors policies over performance, guess what improves first? So greenwashing becomes banal. Highlight the shiny project and bury the dirty core. Announce net zero by 2050, with milestones that start the year after the current CEO retires. Count reductions you were going to make for cost reasons anyway. Outsource emissions to suppliers and declare victory. It's legal. It's common. It's quietly encouraged by a game that rewards narrative consistency. We've seen this movie before. Quality programs that produced binders, safety programs that produced posters, cyber programs that produced audits, and then a breach. Compliance is not the same as competence, but it is measurable. The moment an idea becomes popular, regulators arrive with clipboards. Disclosure rules expand. Taxonomies proliferate. What counts as green? What counts as a transition asset? Bureaucracies attempt a common language, which is useful until it isn't, because commanding a definition doesn't resolve the underlying trade-offs. It just fixes them in place. The risk is a checkbox economy, ever more detailed reports, ever less clarity on outcomes. Companies hire sustainability officers to herd data. Investors hire analysts to interpret it. Both groups hire lawyers. The planet continues rotating. Under the stack of binders, a moral mirage flickers. Remember the original pitch? ESG as risk management, a way to price how environmental and social factors might affect investors' returns. That is not the same as measuring whether a company is good for the world. A toxic monopoly with pristine governance can score well on G, compound profits for decades, and crush competitors while raising prices. A messy manufacturer producing essential goods for poor countries might score badly on E and S, yet deliver enormous human welfare. One question is moral. Should we do business with them? Another is financial. Will this blow up our portfolio? ESG tried to answer both with the same number. That's the mirage. Risk to investors is not the same as harm to society. Sometimes they rhyme, often they don't, and there are unintended consequences. Scoring systems shape capital. When disclosure becomes the currency, firms with the best accounting departments win. Large, rich companies in transparent jurisdictions look virtuous. Small, emerging market firms look messy. Cheap capital flows to the most measurable, not necessarily the most beneficial. At the extremes, you get two perverse outcomes. First, virtue monopolies. Entrenched incumbents with immaculate paperwork crowd out scrappier innovators who might actually cut emissions or improve labor conditions, but can afford the reporting overhead. Second, shadow shifting. Outsourcing dirty steps to third parties or geographies, improving the score while the physical world stays the same. ESG promised to internalize externalities. Sometimes it merely externalizes responsibility. When you comb through corporate disasters, fraud, implosion, avoidable catastrophe, you find a recurring villain: bad governance. Overmighty executives, rubber stamp boards, perverse pay schemes, related party transactions, weak controls, rubber stamp boards, perverse pay schemes, related party transactions, weak controls. The boring stuff. Governance lacks cinematic appeal. No drone shots of wind farms. No sunrise over solar panels. Governance lacks cinematic appeal. But it's the lever with the longest history of predicting whether a company will survive its own management. Without it, E and S are costumes. If you remember one thing, remember this. G is the floor. If the floor gives way, the house collapses, no matter how green the paint. So can ESG be improved? Yes, by shrinking it. Separate the missions? Yes, by shrinking it. Through the investor risk lens, ask, which non-financial factors could hurt cash flows realistically in the next few years? Build sector-specific metrics with clear links to outcomes. For utility, emissions intensity, grid reliability, CapEx aligned to transition pathways, regulatory exposure. For a platform company, privacy incidents, content moderation costs, regulatory fines. Keep it empirical, keep it material, drop the poetry. Through the impact lens, ask, does this company make the world better or worse by an ethical framework you'd always be willing to declare? Pick your values: health outcomes, poverty reduction, biodiversity impact, and say them out loud. Don't hide philosophy behind a neutral-sounding score. Honest bias beats pretend objectivity. Privilege outputs over inputs. Policies are inputs. Training hours are inputs. Outcomes are fewer spills, fewer injuries, lower emissions per unit, better product safety, faster complaints, resolution, less bribery. If you can't measure the outcome, say so. Ambiguity acknowledged beats precision faked. Time box the claims. A 2050 promise is a press release. A 12 to 36 month milestone with audited numbers is a plan. Make targets short, rolling, and costly to miss. If a payout depends on hitting them, executives will notice. Align pay with reality. Tie a minority portion of compensation to a small set of auditable metrics. Not 27 KPIs with heroic offset math. 3. Miss them, lose money. Hit them, get paid. Simplicity kills loopholes. Disclose uncertainty. 3. Miss them, lose money. Hit them, get paid. Simplicity kills loopholes. Error bars exist. So do methodological choices. Show them. If your scope 3 is a model, label it. If your scope 3 is a model, label it. If you changed your supplier survey, note the break-in series. The audience isn't allergic to complexity, it's allergic to pretend certainty. Open the books on controversies. Create a standardized incident ledger. Environmental incidents, safety events, regulatory actions, major investigations, date, severity, response time, remediation. Investors can forgive sins. They hate cover-ups. Now, strip away the fairy dust and look at the archetypes you will meet. The clean narrator. A company announces net zero by mid-century and wins headlines. Meanwhile, its primary product line grows emissions in absolute terms, and the plan leans on offsets purchased from projects that might have happened anyway. On paper, up and to the right. In physics, unchanged. The messy reformer. A heavy industry firm with ugly baseline numbers invests heavily in process electrification, cuts injuries by double digits, and renegotiates supplier standards with real audits. Its absolute emissions remain high, so the grade is mediocre. The real world, however, is cleaner and safer, which deserves cheaper capital. The governance time bomb. Another company touts diverse initiatives and community engagement. The governance time bomb. Another company touts diverse initiatives and community engagement. Then a related party transaction surfaces, the audit committee wobbles, and the CEO's pay structure rewards revenue growth at all costs. The scandal isn't environmental or social. It's governance. Surprise to some, not to history. Why then do markets cling to a single number? Because markets love the illusion of compression. One number reduces argument. It fits on a slide. It scales. But complex systems resist flattening. When we crush environmental trade-offs, social contracts, and power structures into a single digit, we destroy the information we needed to make good decisions. We get tidy dashboards and sloppy reality. The point of measurement isn't to end debate, it's to inform it. If your score eliminates the argument, it probably eliminated the truth along with it. So, before you trust an ESG number, whether you're an investor, an employee, or a citizen, ask 5 questions. What's material here? Which factors actually link to this company's cash flows? And are the weights tailored to its industry? What's being measured, outcomes or policies? And how much is modeled versus direct? What's the time horizon, 12 to 36 months? Or are we awarding points for 2050 poetry? What does governance look like? Board structure, pay alignment, conflicts, controls. And where are the error bars? What are the methodological choices, the breaks in the series? The places this could be wrong. If you can't get clear answers, you don't have a measurement. You have a mood. History's verdict on this kind of scoring is unkind and familiar. From papal indulgences to corporate KPIs, humans have always reached for simple tokens to stand in for complicated virtues. Pay a fee, buy forgiveness. Check a box, buy legitimacy. ESG scores are the latest manifestation, a secular indulgence priced by the basis point. That doesn't make them useless. It makes them dangerous when we forget what they are. Scores don't save forests. People do. Policies don't rescue workers. Managers do. Models don't clean rivers. Engineers do. Measurement is a tool. Tools are only as good as the hands holding them, and the incentives paying those hands. None of this means abandon measurement or abandon aspiration. It means right-size the tools and tell the truth about what they do. Use ESG factors for what they actually are. Risk indicators whose predictive power varies by sector, data quality, and time horizon. If you care about impact, declare a philosophy and measure against it. If you care about investment risk, focus on material decision-useful indicators that show up in cash flows. If you care about both, don't pretend one number can reconcile them. It can't. The most honest dashboards will be messy, because reality is messy. That's not a flaw. That's the feature that keeps you from being fooled. Look back at the history of corporate fiascos and social progress, and you'll see the same pattern. When governance is sound, companies can learn, adapt, and improve on E and S over time. When governance is rotten, E and S are costumes worn by a body that's quietly decomposing. If you must compress the world into one letter, make it G. It won't make you righteous. It will make you less likely to be blindsided. So here's the sober version of the promise. ESG scores can be useful if treated as a map with missing roads, fog banks, and a compass that points mostly north. They become dangerous when we mistake the map for the terrain and the compass for a guarantee. The fix isn't to outlaw compasses. It's to learn where they wobble, to triangulate with more than one instrument, and to step outside when the air on the page doesn't match the wind on your face. The rhetoric of numbers is seductive. A digit seems apolitical, objective, final. But digits are choices dressed as facts, choices about what to count, how to weigh it, and what future to prefer. When executives chase a score, when investors demand a single number that proves a company is good, when politicians praise an index as proof of progress, they're selling an illusion. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's to be auditable, accountable, and improving in ways the physical world can feel and the human world can verify. Short horizons, real outputs, clear trade-offs, open books, and governance that punishes the clever lie and rewards the boring truth. ESG scores promised to quantify what resists quantification, values, trade-offs, trust. We converted morality into metrics, and then we mistook the metrics for morality. The result is a marketplace of numbers that often measure disclosures more than outcomes, narrative more than nature, compliance more than competence. A number can be a guide, it cannot be a conscience. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.